And when you hear that phrase, what does that mean to you?
That we're stronger together, you know? When I started on Yellowstone, it was like 7 years ago, and there were no women at the table. And what I mean by that is the table and the production meetings, we used to do those things before COVID, and then everybody found videos. At production meetings, there were not women at the table. We had one costume designer, and she was the only female at the table. And I worked, my colleagues, I was like, I advocate, and I was constantly talking about it, and the guys were like, guys my age, were like, what are you talking about? There's so many women on this show. And I was like, you mean PAs? Like, no, I'm talking about women at the table. And they were like, oh, like what? You're my age. This was a couple years ago. This isn't like, so I mentioned that because at the final season, all the women were at the table. The director, DP, executive producer, that was one person, of course. The costume designer, myself, and the AD, all women at the table. So we hung on to that train that was going a million miles an hour. We stayed, we were there, and as you all know, we could talk to each other with our eyes, If something would go wrong, we'd just look at each other and then, okay, I'm going, But it was a really positive experience. I didn't even realize it, honestly, because it was such a family. We had a beautiful crew, etc. And at the very end, they did an interview with me, and I had all the questions because I like to be prepared because I don't like to be caught off guard. And they caught me off guard on the last question. They said, the show's about legacy. What's your legacy? And I was like, this is not on the piece of paper. And I said, I want women at the table. Like, we are all here, and let's continue this. It was such a good atmosphere and such a smooth process, and we troubleshoot and we multitask, and we killed it.